Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative. We do Devon Sawa, but Who Are You People, which is going to be available on demand and digital in select theaters February 24th. It's an honor and privilege to speak with you, man. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
No problem. I mean, the thing that kind of stands out to me with this film is during the pandemic, this film, a lot of characters, including your character, are figuring a lot of things out and doing a lot of self-reflection.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that have kind of dropped news-wise that they really have to adapt to. During the pandemic, there's a little bit, right?
there's some things.
Yeah, there's some things. But during the pandemic, Devon, we were doing a lot of self-reflection and soul-searching because we had the time to do so, basically, like 2-3 years ago. So I feel like a movie like this becomes like more relatable because of that. Did you think about that at all? The impact-wise, due to the fact that we were figuring a lot of things out during the pandemic?
Yeah, definitely. This is, I'm pretty sure that during the pandemic, a lot of people had a lot of time to think about some of the things that they should be dealing with. That's something that Carl never did. He spent a lot of years kind of just running from his problems and moving in with his cousin and kind of, going to church and getting sober but there was some things that he needed to deal with additionally that he didn't. And that's probably a lot of us did that during the pandemic. Was like, hey, I have a lot more time to think about some of the things. So yeah.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because I love when you have, Ben Epstein, who directed this and wrote this. I find it really interesting because obviously there's going to be different conversations. It's going to be like the conversations about the scripts and then the kind of the shots and the director conversations as well. So what were those conversations with him knowing that he wore many hats on this? I'm curious about that.
Well, it's interesting you say that because conversation is exactly why I ended up doing it. I wasn't sure on whether I was going to do the project to begin with. I read the script like you watched the movie, where I thought this was all going, oh my God, this father and daughter are building this relationship. She hasn't seen him in a long time. Why does he not like her that much? Yeah. And then the ending kind of happens. And I was like, oh, hey, I don't know. There's really no coming back from that. How do we, but what made me want to take the project was because it's going to open the door to conversations. Yep. Now we're talking, especially after that last phone call, everybody should be sitting there going, well, what does she do? Mm-hmm. I mean, is there no coming back from that? What about that? What about this? What about that? And so conversations is kind of why I took the project.
Do you notice the growth with like certain scenes of this movie? You know how they say, wow, throughout the whole movie, this character really grew, right? Or like throughout the whole season 1 of the show, the character really grew arc-wise. Now I feel like movies like this, it's like, wow, like this person really grew in like 10 minutes of a scene. You know what I mean? Yeah. Do you notice that when you're reading the script?
Well, yeah, I think that more and more Carl, my character, let my guard down. That was the whole thing. It's like Carl didn't know where to start with this. Like he never expected this in a million years that this kid would be coming knocking on his door, which is we've seen that story a million times, right? Yep. We could have gone that way, and it doesn't go that way. It's definitely a different story. And he kind of, scene by scene is this growth in this relationship and his guard coming down and holy shit, I kind of like this kid. And now the audience is starting to really like them together. And so.
Is it exciting for you as a storyteller that over the years you have been able to work on all of these different genres? Because I feel like, especially when you're younger, you want where the opportunities are and everything, but you worked on a lot of different projects and you work on something like this that has a lot of heart, that really hits the audience. And you work on a lot of things that provided escapism. Is it cool to look at it and look at everything you've worked on genre-wise in the past?
Yeah, it's important to me to do films like this, but also to do things that I really like to watch that not a lot of other people, like for instance, The Fanatic was important for me to do because it was so bonkers. Mm-hmm. But then this movie is very important because I feel like audiences need this they need this story. They need, and then to work with this young actor who Ema Horvath, who is absolutely mind-blowingly good. And then to do Chucky, it's I just like, I'm on a great road. And I think I've done 90% of the stuff I've done is I feel like I just did it because I love it. And
yeah, for sure. When you're working younger though, and I feel like maybe now I'm just wondering about this. Do you think about the impact of a lot of the projects you worked on where you're younger have on people? Like, for example, for me specifically, Devon, I'm going to tell you right now, like a lot of your projects kind of started a lot of different interests and passions for me specifically. So for example, Final Destination got me into horror movies, my favorite genre. Extreme Ops got me into the X Games. Idle Hands got me into one of my favorite bands, The Offspring. Like, do you think about those things a little bit where like you make these movies, they don't really have a shelf life, they're around, but they're really important for a lot of people because they expose people to different arts and different things they didn't know. It's cool, right?
To be completely honest with you, in my younger years, when those years you're talking about, there was a lot of selfish reasons for taking those particular films. I, as a teenager, I was stuck in those teen magazines, Teen Beat Bop, all those things.
Little Giants, NFL too, Super Bowl yesterday. I'm just saying, like,
Little Giants now and then, yada yada yada. And I was done. I didn't want to be that teen heartthrob anymore. At 18, the last thing you want to be is a heartthrob. You want to be taken serious, whatever. So I needed to do stuff that was a fuck you to the teen heartthrob magazines, and that's when you take Idle Hands because I'm smoking pot, and I'm doing Stan because I'm with Eminem and Dr. Dre, and I'm doing SOC Punk because I'm an acid head, and like, you know what I mean? I was doing these movies because it was like, it was.
What's the next thing? I want to get over this. Absolutely, yeah.
Sure. I was, and it was more of who I was. I was more of a crazy young fella than I was, Junior Floyd or Casper.
Yeah, so. No, for sure. I totally understand that for sure. Final Destination is a big one because those are my favorite movies. Like, I don't think I love people, like I love the Scream movies 100%, but I think Final Destination's got to be up there, man, in terms of one of the best horror franchises of all time. I do have to say
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That came out at a time when those kind of movies were the thing in Hollywood, like the Scream. I know you did Last Summer. Yep. All those kind of films were the Faculty. You can name, that was it. That was what we all went to the theaters to see. So
yeah.
Final Destination is the one that I like the most.
You mentioned that you got to work on Chucky on USA Network at Sci-Fi, which is amazing. I mean, for people that follow that killer doll on social media, though, he doesn't really like you very much.
No, we have a cool little feud going on in that doll. It's a lot of fun, man. Listen, I watched Chucky when I was like 10 or something like that, the first Child's Play and Child's Play 2 and 3, and then we visited the reboots, the Bride, Seed, and Cult. And I've always been a fan. And I think my agents were they didn't really know what I would think when they handed me the Chucky TV series, but I was all in from the moment I got them. And I did this elaborate edition tape where I explained how I would play these two twins. And it's just been so much fun going to work on that thing. Jennifer Tilly, Fiona and all the kids and everybody, Don Mancini. I just like every day is like, I'm hoping to go do season 3 and play another character. We'll see what happens.
Does it feel full circle a little bit, knowing that kind of some of your, after you mentioned kind of the Now and Thens and the Junior Floyd days, you worked on like some more crazier projects in the horror, everything. Does it feel full circle a little bit to those days a little bit?
A little bit. I got a really cool, Don Mancini wrote in my first episode on season 2 where I played this priest. I'm doing this scene where I'm talking about somebody dying and I'm telling the kids to stay busy because Idle Hands are the devil's plaything. And I was like, no one's going to get that joke. No one's going to get that reference. And sure enough, the internet went nuts with, oh my God, he just referenced Idle Hands in Chucky. So, full circle.
I've never heard of The Offspring before that movie. Like, I didn't know about them, and they are one of my favorite bands because of that movie.
It was The Offspring. It was Rob Zombie. It was Blink-182. It was, we had everybody in that film.
That's the awesome music, man. And it reminds me, because you worked on Slackers, and I feel like that was part of like those movies that had like the best soundtracks where it featured all those bands.
Absolutely. My kid who's 9 now, but when he was 7, I took him to his first concert, which was the Fall Out Boys, Weezer, and Green Day concert. Yes. And so I still love all those guys, man. Fall Out Boys are awesome. Green Day, man.
Sum 41 was my first concert. Sum 41 was like my dad took me. It was my elementary school graduation present. Like how
doesn't
cool
get better than that. We had it made back then, man.
We did. I want to get back to Who Are You People, because I feel like you've been in this industry for a while. You work on a lot of projects. There's always going to be learning experiences for an actor, Devon, a storyteller. There's always going to be, you're going to learn things new, like learn new things, whether it's who you're working with and everything. Any learning experiences for you, or something that you kind of experienced that you didn't experience on past projects with this movie specifically?
Yeah, I was mentioning this a little bit to somebody else before. I watching Ema, who's a young actor. I think she's mid 20s. She was mid 20s when we did the movie. But you watch a fearlessness in her that I had when I was around her age, that I have to remind myself to maintain as an actor. She knew this character. She knew how she was going to play this character. This was her take on the character. And she did it. It was just like this is it. Watch me roar. You know what I mean? There was no hesitation. There was no worry about consequences. It was just, and that's why it comes off so great and natural. And that's what I took from this particular project is to remind myself to be fearless and to be open to try all sorts of different things. And Ema kind of reminded me of that.
And I love those conversations that all the characters have. I'm a big fan of dialogue. Like, I love also, this is not a horror film, but like, don't you love the fact also that the horror genre is like very like dialogue driven now, where it's not just the jump scares and like that sort of things. It's just like, why did he say that? You know what I mean? Like, that scared me. Like, he said that. Like, it's changing a little bit.
Well, horror is becoming a lot smarter nowadays. It's becoming, we don't have to make like, I just watched that Creepshow 2, which is a fantastic film, by the way. But that was just, that's the opposite. There's no dialogue on that. That's just like
blood,
fun,
slashing absolutely.
And now we have all these, filmmakers, Juan, Flanagan, all these great smart filmmakers where they can say, well, horror doesn't have to be campy and over the top all the time. We can make horror. We can make it smart. We can make it smart, and that's where we're going. The Blumhouses of the world are making these fantastic films.
It's so amazing, man. And then, Who Are You People? People are going to be able to see it in a lot of ways on digital demand and select theaters February 24th. Devon, it was amazing to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time, man.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.